What's going on, guys? This is Mekkah, and today we're going to be doing an RNG abuse guide, because some people really want to know how to RNG abuse, but apparently it's pretty hard to do. I made a guide on this before, but it had some misconceptions, it had some wrong things, and if there's one thing I can't stand is saying the wrong thing and teaching people the wrong thing. So we're going to clear those up. We're going to make a more, I don't want to say concise, but we're going to make a basic guide on how the RNG works, this time without any errors, hopefully. So if you don't know yet, this is going to be for the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games. How the RNG works is the RNG in these games, in pretty much all Fire Emblems, it's not actually random, it's called pseudo-random. It's a series of numbers that the game draws numbers from. So instead of rolling dice or something like that, it just has random numbers stored somewhere, and every time the game needs them for battles, it just pulls from like a series of those numbers. This series of numbers is the same for every playthrough on every game ever across the globe. So if everyone in the entire world, with every cartridge they have, did the same on every playthrough ever, start to finish, they would get the exact same results. The variance in people's like level ups and everything, that comes from a variance in actions. And there's actions that burn RNs that include battles, but you can also burn RNs by using the arrow dancing that you might have seen if you've ever seen like an RNG abuse playthrough before. Like for example, if I move Joshua like this, using this arrow to redraw movement paths, you can see that they are different. That's because the game uses random numbers that determine how the arrow is drawn, if it ever needs to go for like more than your unit's movement. So for example, it's kind of a technical detail, but whatever. Say I want to move Joshua like this is 5 things, he can't move more than 5. So if I were to tell Joshua to go 1 left from where my cursor is right now, he would have to move 7 tiles if he had to keep the path intact, but instead the game has to redraw his arrow. So if I move it like this, the game has to use a different arrow path, and it can be different depending on what the game feels like doing. So you can see there's many different possibilities for how this arrow can be drawn. That's why the RNG gets burned, or why the RNs get burned every time you move the arrow like this. More on that later. So, what do you need to RNG abuse? What do you need? You need a couple things. You need a ROM of the game you want to RNG abuse in. I can't help you find one, but there's probably places where you could. I just can't point you to them because that's illegal. Again, this guide only works for the GBA Fire Emblems, so FE6, FE7, and FE8. It doesn't work for any other ones, so if you want to RNG abuse in those, you'll need a different guide. And you need a Lua script. In my last video I called this the LUA script, but Lua is it's based in something Portuguese. I think it means like moon or something. The link to that is in the description. It's called like RNG abuse script or something. Just download it, put it somewhere where you can find it. And then you need a special version of VBA called VBA-RR, or re-record version. It's from like task videos, I think. I also linked that in the description. Because you need a certain menu. You need to be able to use Lua to load Lua scripts in your thing. And if you can't load Lua scripts in your thing, then it's not going to work. So you need a special version of VBA. Even if you use a different emulator, you still need VBA-RR. I'm not aware of any other emulators that can run these. Either way, you need something that can run Lua scripts. I'm most familiar with VBA, so that's going to be what this guide is based on. So if you've got everything, then here's what you do. So this is what it looks like on VBA-RR. You go to Tools, and then you go to Lua Scripting, and you go to New Lua Script Window, and a window will pop up, and it should look a little something like this. This is the path where your Lua scripts should be found. If it's not here, then whatever, just look for it with Browse, and find it, load it, and then click Run. And my numbers will appear. You can close this window. You don't need it anymore until you need to restart the thing, so just close it. And then a bunch of numbers will appear. Let me change back to normal visuals, because this looks like bad. There we go. Okay, so now we have a bunch of numbers on our screen, and now I'm going to tell you how it works. So you can see that there's numbers on the left here. It says like filter mode, and it says off, and there's a bunch of player and enemy stats with like zeros. You can ignore those for now. What you need is the things on the right hand, the things where it says RNG1, RNG2, RNG3, and next RN. Next RN is the most important one. That's the next RN that the game uses to determine what happens in battle. And I could explain to you how it works exactly, but it's kind of theoretical, so I'm just gonna show it in practice, and hopefully you'll pick up exactly on how it works. If you're a little bit familiar with the RNG, you might already know some stuff, but I gotta start from the beginning so that this guide is accessible to everyone. So if you already know some of this stuff, don't worry. We'll get into new stuff soon, don't worry. Okay, so what the script does is it helps you read and interpret RNs, and it helps you find series of RNs that are usable for you in battle. Basically, if you're not happy with the battle as it would happen, you can load a save state and try again, but with different random numbers until it works. And the script makes that a lot easier. So, for example, I brought 2 friends here, Joshua and Garcia, and also brought Vanessa. For example, let's say I want to make sure that Joshua hits this guy, or actually we'll use Garcia to hit this guy. You can see this is a pretty shaky hit rate. It has 69 hit rate, go figure. So there's a good chance he will miss, so we want to make sure that he hits. How do we do that? Well, to control the script, we do the following. You want to open this battle forecast window first. That makes it a lot easier. So do what I did. Just move a guy in front of your dude and try to attack, but don't attack yet. And then you want to press Q on your keyboard. It doesn't matter what your control settings are, just press Q, because that's how the script works. You gotta press Q. It will say filter mode on, and all the things, the numbers will disappear. Now you can type stuff. Now it says input mode off. You want to turn that on, and you turn that on by pressing I on the keyboard. So pressing I turns it on, pressing O turns it back off. So press I to turn it on. Now input mode is on. You can't control your game anymore. If you like press the arrow buttons, it will not work. Instead, you gotta type stuff. And what you gotta type, well, we want to make sure that the 69 hits. So we press 69, and I actually just pressed a 6 and a 9. It will say 60 first, and then it will say 9. So I'll do it again. So I just turn it on and off the input mode. So just press O and I again. So you press the 6, and then press 9, and there you go. There's 69, and you'll have this little smaller than sign. What that means is the number that we're looking for has to be smaller than 69. This would work if this was a 1RN game and we wanted the random number to be below 69, because in that case the random number used would make sure that 69 hits. But in case you're not familiar, the GBA fire randoms use not 1 but 2 RNs to determine whether a unit connects or not. It takes the average of the next 2 random numbers. If they're averaged out and less than 69, then you will connect. And to tell that game that we're looking for a hit rate and not just like a crit rate or something else, you press the H. The H means hit, and a little thing called hit will appear. And now we tell the game to look for 2 numbers next to each other that average to be below 69, which is probably a lot because it's pretty easy to hit a 69. So when you're done doing this input, you press enter or return, and then we press O again to turn input mode off. And you will see a thing called distance. So you see the distance from from like 3 different numbers, 4, 5, and 6. This means that the closest random number combination that lets us hit the 69 is 4 RNs away from us, and then the next combination is 5, the next combination is 6. So pretty easy to get. And you see a bunch of green arrows appear on the right side here that indicate where those random numbers are. You can see that they're like 1, 2, 3, 4 away from the next RN. So we gotta burn 4 RNs somehow. We can control Garcia and the whole game again without disturbing anything. So I'm going to show you how to burn random numbers now. So as I said, we don't want to do the arrow dancing, and the easiest way to burn a single RN at a time is to make a little kind of a circle around your units. So for example, I'm going to go right, down, left, left, up, and then when I go one more up, the game will have to redraw the arrow path and use one RN for it to determine whether Garcia moves, say, up right or up left, or left up. That's what it's using an RN for. It's very important that there's only 2 different possibilities, because that's the only way it's gonna burn 1 RN. So we move 1 up, and there we go. We burned 1 RN. We got to do this a couple more times because the distance has decreased. It has decreased like all around, from 4, 5, 6 to 3, 4, 5. So we got to do it 2 more times or 3 more times. So we'll just do that real quick. Don't worry if this is going too fast. You can practice this at your own pace. But now I've burned enough random numbers to where there's a green arrow next to next RNs. It says 82, and then the next one is 22. And if you average those out, those are indeed below 69. I'm not going to do the math on the spot, but you will see that if I hit, like if I attack with Garcia here, he should hit. There you go. And that's how you can RNG abuse for a hit, because if it didn't do that, he would miss, I think. Yep, he would miss. So yeah. So that's how you hit with a pretty shaky hit rate. So that's just if you want to get a hit. Now if you want to get a crit, it's a little more complicated. You gotta do more important or more complicated input. So I'll turn input mode off and on again for a little bit. I'll turn it off so I can show Joshua's stats against this guy. If I were to use a killing edge against him, you can see I have 95% chance to hit, or well, I have 95 hit, which is probably like a 99% chance to hit, taking the double RN system into account. And I have a 35 crit rate on this guy. So if I want Joshua to both hit and crit, that means that the next 2 RNs need to average above 95 in order to hit. And then the RNs after that have to be below 35. The next RN, just a single one. Because crit rolls only off 1 RN, but hit rolls off 2. So if I put input mode on again, like this, and then I say I have to hit a 95. So I press 9, and then I press 5 to make 95. And don't forget to make it a hit rate, so we press H for hits, and then we press return, but we're not done yet. We need to input another line. The next one is for crit. So for crit we only need a 35. So press 3. You see that it says 30 here, and it's still waiting for you to press the 5 for 35. So don't panic. So 5, and then we press return. And now we've told the game, okay, look for 2 RNs that average out to be below 95 for the hit rate, which is pretty easy because that's almost everything since 95 is such a high number. And now we've got 35 to look for a number below 35 after the hit rate question has been answered. Basically, the quest for 2 RNs that are below 95 and averaged out, and then right after that there needs to be an RN below 35. So now we've input all we need for the RNs that we're looking for. So after you pressed enter, you can press O for output, and there we go. You can see that the distance is only 3, 5, and 7. So what I like to do here usually is to like make one save state just to be safe, and then I'm gonna burn 3 random numbers. So again, I'm gonna make the little circle around Garcia. So 1, 2, 3, and you can see on the right the next 2 RNs are 58 and 82, like next to next RN and the green arrows. 58 and 82, those average out to be below 95, and the next one should be lower than 35, and it is, it's 22. So that means if I attack with Joshua, we should get a critical hit. And we did. So this guy's toast. Pretty good. Pretty good. Let's say for some bizarro reason you want Garcia to miss. You know, that could happen. You might want Garcia to miss. So again, we got that 69 hit rate going on here. Let's say you want him to miss. That's also possible. You gotta do the 69, of course, but instead of wanting an RN combination that's lower than that, you want one that's higher. So what you can do is you can press the left and right arrow keys to change this smaller than sign into something else, such as this one for bigger than. Technically we can use this one, because if a combination averages out to be 69, it should miss as well. And yeah, and then we need to tell it to hit still, because it still needs 2 RNs, so we do this, we press H for hits, and then press return, and press O, and you can see that actually we were already at the marking where we could miss, but we can RNG abuse to be in a different spot if you wanted to. Like distance is 0 means you're already there, but let's say you want a different distance, we can also burn another RN, like go to this one. This is also fine. Distance is still 0 because distance was 1 before, we burned 1 RN, so then the distance of that 1 became 0. Kind of a pointless RN burn, but you get the point. Garcia should miss now. There we go. And he gets crit in return. Wonderful. Impressive. Okay. So, now I've told you how to rig a hit. I've told you how to rig a miss from the enemy, or how to rig a miss with Garcia, how to rig a crit. Of course you can do like more complicated combinations if you want to. I'll show one just so you can get a hang of how it works. It's kind of hard to explain exactly how all these details work. Here we go. Okay, it kept not cooperating. Anyway. So we want our guaranteed hit, so we just put 99 hit here, and then we go to the next line. We want to not crit, so we want an RN combination that's higher than 5. We just want one RN that's higher than 5, really. If we want a 0-digit number somehow in here, you want to press 05, because otherwise it's going to think we want something with 50, which we don't want. And then you press the arrows until you get a bigger than sign, because we want to get an RN combination. We want to get an RN, I keep saying combination because of the hit thing, but create a single RN. We want to get one that's higher than 5, so we get here to bigger than sign, press enter again. So now Joshua is guaranteed not to crit. Great, right? Now you want this guy to actually hit us. Let's say, I don't know, maybe you want Mulder to heal him or something, so we want to get hit by a 50 hit. Well, Joshua's not going to crit, so we don't have to worry about that. We just press, we want this guy to hit, so we do 50, so 50, and we want to keep the arrow like this because we want it to be smaller than 50, and then you press H for hit again. But we don't want him to crit, so he has 25 crit rates, so 25, but we want it to be higher. And then we press return, and then we press output, And now we're looking for a distance where Joshua hits, doesn't crit, gets hit in return, but doesn't get crit. And apparently the distance to that is 3. So if we burn 3 RNs, that should get us a battle where neither player crits, but we still get hit. So Joshua hits, this guy hits us, and we did RN burn for this last part where Joshua hits again, but you know, you get the point. So you can do more complex things like that. You can also do that for level ups. Do keep in mind that internally, if you want to rig level ups, and this is going to sound a bit complicated, the order of stats is not the same as on your stat screen. I believe, I'm not sure on this, I believe the way it works is internally luck is the last stat that's being rolled. It's like HP, strength, skill, speed, defense, resistance, luck. So keep that in mind. One more thing I gotta say that won't really apply here, but it might apply if you're rigging like double criticals or something. There's an extra RN being rolled when you crit. So that's used for assassinate or silencer or one hit kill, whatever you want to call it. The skill that assassins have. It's always being used, even if you're not an assassin. As long as you crit, an extra RN is being burned to check if you would assassinate, even if you are not an assassin. And this can throw you off a little bit. So, for example, let me run the script again. Let's say I want Joshua to crit this guy, and then I want to rig something after that. So I get a 95 for his hit rates, and then I get a 35 for his crit rates. And then the next RN is going to be for the assassinate, and that doesn't matter what it is because this Joshua's not an assassin. So I just put 99 and enter here, and then I go to the enemy's thing. So for example, if I want the enemy to miss me after I crit him, let's say he survives. This guy doesn't, but it could be. Then I go here and do like the 50 hit thing and make him miss me, that kind of stuff. But do keep in mind that there's an extra RN that you gotta burn here. That's pretty much all I got to say. So I'll put the important things in the description and try to edit out the parts where it went wrong, hopefully, so you guys won't see that. Hopefully this has been a more proper explanation of RNs and how to burn them and how to use them, because I felt like the last one was insufficient in some ways. And yeah, take care and let me know in the comments if you're having any trouble. And you know, I might not be the one to assist you, but I'm sure someone will. Also, if someone from like the speedrunning community pops up that knows more about this stuff than me, then definitely listen to them over this video, because I might still have gotten some things wrong, but hopefully you'll be able to get the basics done. So yeah, take care, have a good time, see you around, bye.